let's dig in to the 5 key tactics that are going to help you run a wildly successful brainstorm. Now, in order to do that, I've mapped out the 5 do's next to the 5 don'ts. I think in order to understand what to do and why it works so effectively, we also need to understand the other side of that coin, what not to do and what doesn't work. Let me share my worksheet with you so we can go through it together so that you can begin to see what it takes to build a wildly successful brainstorm that brings everybody's voice to the table and helps generate not just a wealth of ideas, but innovative ideas as well. So of course, this worksheet is attached to this micro lesson. What I would encourage you to do as we go through this is actually take a moment, pause, print this out, and take your notes directly on this worksheet or through your iPad or whatever other note-taking app that you use. I find it helpful to just remind ourselves and take some notes as to why the do's and don'ts work. So let's go through these because these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keys for you to run a wildly successful brainstorm that doesn't waste time, effort, or potential. So we'll start at the top here with number 1. Don't do exercises for fun. Do exercises with purpose. Here's the thing with exercises for fun. They're fun, you get a lot of laughs, maybe people feel good, but they don't help really do anything. In fact, oftentimes what they do is just waste much needed time that could be used to open up new thinking in the brain or generate new ideas. I once was in a brainstorm session where they spent 15 minutes doing yoga poses. Now, I love yoga, I love meditation, it does unlock parts of the brain, but everybody walked away from that session going, well, I feel calm and centered, but what was the point of that? So oftentimes when we bring in exercises for fun, we're actually sabotaging our own efforts of trying to get people to generate a wealth of ideas or come to the table and collaborate. Now, here's what I find. Sometimes we do exercises for fun because we don't know what to do. We know we need interactivity. We know we need to warm people up. We know we need to get them thinking differently, but we're not really sure what to do. So we look up fun icebreakers and we get exercises for fun. Well, I can tell you right now, they are a waste of much needed time and energy. Here's what you can do though, because I'm all about exercises. I think exercises with purpose can help us unlock different thinking, can help us tap different parts of our brain, can help us see how things connect. So it can help us connect, it can unlock, it can set new paths. Let me give you an example. In one brainstorm session I did, I actually had people build a rocket ship with what they have accessible to them. Sounds pretty basic, right? So I brought in some stuff from the craft store. It was a lot of fun. They built this rocket ship. But about 2 minutes into the exercise, I said, hey, new goal here, new objective. Now the rocket ship needs to carry a payload. It needs to have a compartment to carry stuff with it. So you got to rebuild your rocket ship. Then 2 minutes later, I said, oh, hey, by the way, this rocket ship that was supposed to go to the moon now has to go to Mars. So you need to readjust it. And then 2 minutes later, I said, oh, one of your resources that you had to build your rocket ship now has to be taken away. And you got to figure out how to do whatever purpose it had, but without that. And oh, by the way, change teams. Sometimes teams change. So 2 of you stay at the rocket ship, the rest of you leave and find a new rocket ship to build. My point in this exercise, as you can see, this was about building this rocket ship, right? Building this rocket ship with change. Why? Because our reason for being there was to develop new ideas that help us manage through change. So I wanted to do an exercise that helped them not just talk about change hypothetically, but actually experience change. When we use purposeful exercises, we actually allow people to experience what it is we're working on. On top of that, with the right exercises, it can also help you unlock different parts of the brain. So doing a visual exercise, doing an exercise where they have to use physical things, doing an exercise that has them asking inciting questions. When we do an exercise with purpose, we can experience what it is we're trying to accomplish, we can unlock, we can connect, and we can build new paths. So again, I'm all for exercises. I think they're so important. But exercises just for fun while maybe a little bit of fun in the moment, tend to fall short and are a waste. Where exercises for experience, for purpose, help us create the experience that we're trying to get people to go with, to help them connect, unlock new paths of thinking. And oh, by the way, that rocket ship was great because then when we went into the actual ideation portion, people were very grounded in what that experience felt like, the pressure, the frustration, the change, and it helped them come up with a wealth of ideas that they wouldn't come up with before because they didn't have that experience and unlocking of new parts of their brain. So don't exercise for fun, do exercises with purpose. All right, that's number one. Number two is don't discuss people. Instead, absolutely discuss ideas. Here's the thing. Oftentimes in a brainstorm, what happens? It gets very personal, doesn't it? So now we're all sitting around the table, we're all facing each other, and Susie over there has an idea that I don't like or I'm questioning, and now what really happens is I'm questioning Susie. And that's often a function of how brainstorms are developed, the exercises we use, and the setup of the room. When we're all simply just sitting there facing each other all the time, it becomes a discussion with each other, not about the ideas. When all our exercises are about talking as a group, we end up discussing people, not ideas. So what we want to do is develop a brainstorm session that isn't personal in this way. In fact, it's objective. Oftentimes what I find is very simple exercises like getting everybody to write their ideas one at a time on sticky notes and then putting those sticky notes up on the wall and having everybody's view redirected to those sticky notes helps us discuss ideas. Sometimes it's the exercises. We just have to develop the ones that help us discuss ideas and not people. In the next video and in your worksheet, the exercises that we show you are absolutely going to help you stay on the idea side. Here's the other thing I've learned, and this is very important, so I hope you'll really take note of this, is part of it is in the expectations. So when I'm running a brainstorm session, what I'll often say in the beginning of a brainstorm is, hey, I know we all have a lot of passion and conviction and some stake in the game. The outcomes matter to us. That's part of the reason we're here at the table, and that's awesome. But what we want to make sure we do today, in order to move ourselves and our ideas forward, our decision-making forward, is discuss ideas, not people. So when we find ourselves getting too personal with a person or taking things too personally, I just want us to remember to take a step back, that we're all here for XYZ reason. We're all here together. And today, we're really going to focus on those ideas. Like I said, I find that it's both expectations and exercises that make sure we are discussing ideas, not people. When we discuss ideas, we can poke holes, we can show the strengths, we can agree, we can disagree, which is so important to innovation. So set up exercises and expectations that allow you to do that. So that's number two, discuss ideas, not people. Okay, the third one here is don't silo brainstorms, but do connective brainstorms. Let me explain what I mean by this. Oftentimes, brainstorms happen in a total silo, right? It's that 3 p.m. brainstorm, right, on Thursday. But there's no work done before or even after for that brainstorm. It's like we're all expected to shuffle into this room and expect this magical innovation genie to come out and do its thing. When we silo brainstorms like that, when it becomes this kind of one little thing that happens on its own, right? Just here's the brainstorm without any connection to all the work that we do all through the day, all the thinking time that we have before and after, we actually minimize our ability to innovate. It becomes hard, it becomes exhausting. We're not warmed up. We haven't given it the proper thought. It's not connected back to the work that we do. So what we want to do, instead of siloing, where we're missing a lot of opportunity, what we want to do is create connective brainstorms. And what I mean by that is, yes, we have our 3 p.m. brainstorm, but perhaps we have some videos or some ideas or some thought-provoking questions that go out before, so that all this stuff that happens, all this time before, is actually connected to the brainstorm itself. I find that when we create connective brainstorms, when we warm people up and we connect it to the work they're doing, giving them time to think, time to process, time to come to the table prepared, the outcome of those brainstorms are so much more powerful. So don't silo brainstorms, but do create connective brainstorms. Okay, The fourth one is don't have one style of brainstorm and do have dynamic inclusion. I think you know where I'm headed with this. Now, here's the thing. If you can't tell, I am a talkative, loud, outgoing person. So I can suck the air out of a brainstorm. And oftentimes I find that brainstorms are developed for people like me. The ones who talk, who can fill the air, who are quick on their feet. But they leave out perhaps the introverts, perhaps the people that need processing time, perhaps the people that think a little bit differently. As you know, if you've perused our website or taken our assessment, every innovator style has its own method of processing. But oftentimes brainstorms are developed towards one type of person, right? It's usually a group discussion, and it's the dominating one that takes over the room. And we do not get the collective knowledge and brilliance of everybody else at the table. So what we want to do is we want to create dynamic brainstorms that actually speak to all the different types of people that we have in the room. So maybe we want to do some that are talking. Maybe we want to do some that are pairs to interviewing each other. Maybe we want to do some in larger groups. Maybe we want to do some that are solo, where people actually think and reflect before they share. Maybe we want to have it where they write it down and then put it on the wall. Maybe we want to do it inside, outside. Maybe some of the exercises are short and some are long. All of this, by the way, some of these details are in your worksheet. So don't worry about trying to capture everything I just said. My point here is we need to come up with a much more dynamic approach, a dynamic agenda that allows us to tap everybody. That one style, we really miss incredible opportunities and incredible knowledge and wisdom and collaboration because people like me who could talk all day long suck the air out of the room. And every group has them, by the way. Or you have a room of introverts, which I haven't quite seen happen, but then nobody is bringing their best self. So we want to create exercises that are long, short, inside, outside, solo, group, so we can really get true dynamic inclusion and really tap the power of the genius in the room. So number 4 is don't do one style. Don't focus your entire agenda with one type of exercise, but create dynamic inclusion with a range of exercises. Okay, number 5 is don't leave open-ended and do close the loop. Here's what I mean by this. Oftentimes we have our brainstorm, whoever is moderating, which ultimately is probably the project owner, owns everything that came out of that brainstorm, all the data on the easel pads, all the ideas. And then that moderator or that project owner goes off and does their thing. Well, that kind of leaves it open-ended for everybody else in the room. What happened? What idea did they go with? Why did they pick those ideas? What happened to all those other ideas that we came up with that you should never lose, by the way? Where did they all go? So it's like this. Another way to think of this one, is it's like a black box. You know, it's like all this input went in, but nobody knows where it goes. What I find is that over time, chips away at people's desire to actually brainstorm and give you their ideas. Nobody wants to give all their incredible brilliance into a black box and have it go nowhere. Instead, what you want to do is close the loop. There's 2 things I love to do. First, I love to share with everybody the raw notes from the session. I take pictures of every single easel pad, every single sticky note, every single notepad, every single idea, and I compile those into a document, and I always send them out to the group because there's something in there that they might need at a later time or for something else that they're working on. What a great gift to give back to somebody. Wouldn't you be excited to go to the next brainstorm if you knew you were helping solve this challenge, but also in all of those nuggets, maybe there's something that you want to refer back to later and actually leverage? How great would that be? So I love to share this out. Also, what an incredible way to say thank you for your voice and your brilliance. So I love sharing all the raw notes. No editing, no typing them up. Just here they are in their raw glory for everybody to see and for everybody to leverage. Then, what I think is really important is an update with, of course, the why behind it. Hey, Here's what's happening next. Here's what we're doing. Here are the ideas we're considering. Here's why. Here's the next meeting. And to do this within 3 days so that people know. Well, here's the thing. What we're doing here is we're showing momentum. Nobody wants to go to a brainstorm session that ends at the brainstorm session. Close the loop. Oftentimes, as project owners or leaders, this is the part that I see missed the most. And it is so critical. People feel valued. They feel validated when you close the loop with them. And all it takes is sending out the raw notes and giving people a follow-up of what's happening next. So the 5 do's and don'ts: don't do exercises for fun. Do exercises with purpose that develop the experience, that connect, that unlock new paths. Don't discuss people and make it personal. Do discuss ideas and do that with exercises and expectations. Don't silo brainstorms, missing incredible opportunity. Do create connective brainstorms where there's pre-time, pre-work, pre-thinking that help use your time wisely. Number 4, don't do one style that only speaks to one type of thinker in the room, typically the loud dominant one. Do dynamic inclusion so that you tap the brilliance and the potential of everybody in the room. Create an agenda with a range of exercises. Don't leave open-ended. Don't create the black box scenario that demotivates everybody. Do close the loop simply by sending raw notes and what's next. So as you can see, there's a lot that goes into developing a successful brainstorm, one that feels productive and efficient, innovative, one that people look forward to going to. But also I hope that you see that if you focus on those 5 simple keys, it can become easy for you as the moderator, the facilitator, the project owner to make that absolutely possible. I want you to take some time and actually think about those 5 do's and don'ts and what you're going to change in your next brainstorm to make that possible. In the next video, I'm actually going to walk you through an agenda worksheet, a brainstorm agenda worksheet that we have for you that you can use to develop your next wildly successful brainstorm.